I'm Brian Bender, and let's queer up the USA View. Supreme Court blocks state conversion therapy bans, citing free speech in an 8-1 landmark ruling. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that states cannot ban conversion therapy for minors. It has restricted what licensed therapists can discuss with their clients by issuing an 8-1 decision that significantly reshapes the enforcement of such laws nationwide. Writing for the majority, Justice Neil Gorsuch said, quote, "The First Amendment stands as a shield against any effort to enforce orthodoxy in thought or speech in this country," end quote. Concluding that states cannot use licensing rules to limit conversations between therapists and clients. The case Childs versus Salazar was brought by Colorado-based therapist Kaylee Childs. She argued that she should be allowed to provide faith-based counseling to minors seeking to reduce same-sex attraction or align their identities with religious beliefs. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson issued the lone dissent. This ruling is widely viewed as a victory for the Trump administration. The decision applies only to talk therapy, leaving states free to regulate medical interventions such as hormones or surgery. It follows a 2025 ruling upholding state restrictions on certain gender-affirming treatment for minors. The Washington Post reports that Childs claims she does not want to convert queer youngsters, but help them reduce apparently unwanted attractions. In court filings, Childs stated her clients, quote, "believe their faith and their relationship with God supersede romantic attractions, and that God determines their identity according to what He has revealed in the Bible, rather than their attractions or perceptions determining their identity," end quote. Responding to the decision, GLAAD President Sarah Kate Ellis said, quote, "The court once again prioritized malice over best medicine practice." How horrible. I think that it's really repugnant that the Supreme Court would say this. I do understand, being that I am a person that does teach the Constitution to adolescents, I do understand the argument by Neil Gorsuch saying that, you cannot use licensing rules to compel speech. I do have to say, though, if you're going to be talking to minors about, some kind of a sky god up there, and I don't say that, I know it sounds like I'm coming across as being flippant or disrespectful toward religion, but they can use anything that they want to justify slavery, to justify polygamy, to justify beating women, to justify whatever it is, whatever type of violence you want to justify, you can find it in any of the holy books, most of the holy books in the Western tradition. What Neil Gorsuch is saying is that we cannot allow people who are licensed, we cannot give them restrictions on what they could say by fact that they have a license and they could talk about whatever it is that they want. It didn't go so far as to say that you can do physical torture or anything like that, but if a client is saying that they are having unwanted sexual attraction, I guess what the court is saying is that your therapist can try to talk you out of that predicament that you find yourself in from a faith-based perspective. I don't think that is the realm of a medical professional, a therapy professional. I think if you want to talk about that, talk to your pastor about that. Talk to your prayer director. Talk to your, the sister at the convent, if that's really the way that you want to go with it. But if you're a licensed individual talking to people about their mental health, I don't believe that the two should be joined together in that way. And I think that there should be a strict code of ethics as to what can be discussed and what can't. And if the DSM manual says that homosexuality is not a mental illness, not a mental disorder or disease, then there's nothing to talk about from a professional. You want to talk to a faith-based counselor? Talk to them. But if you are going to be talking to people from a medical perspective, you need to keep it within the realm of a medical doctrine.
This is basically Supreme Court sanctioned grooming, by the way.
Ooh.
It's grooming.
Ooh.
We don't groom. Ooh. They groom. Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, I will pick up where you left off, and I'll be condescending towards religion.
Please.
That is my,
Please
that
do.
is a specialty. Jesus effing Christ. Minors are not looking to be talked out of unwanted attractions. You know who wants them talked
Their
out?
parents.
Their parents. And you know what? The kids are going to want to go because the option is going to be torture at home or put out onto the street. Now, so Florida can now talk kids out of trying to be gay and ban treatments such as conversion therapy. This is just two sides of a terrible coin. One bright light in this is a couple weeks ago, we sat at this table and we talked about Greg Abbott, the Attorney General of Texas, sending a memo to doctors saying that talk therapy about trans kids is also illegal and they could lose their license. So theoretically, unless they're a bunch of hypocrites, the Supreme Court would let that door swing both ways, and therapists in Texas will be allowed to talk about trans issues with trans kids. But on the whole, this is just wretched.
Wretched, I tell you.
It's just more poison oozing out of the Project 2025 playbook. Disgusting.
Well, there is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.